If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's great to have so many of you here today on this historic day when we name the 5th Executive Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. I want to welcome all of our guests and thank you for being here on this special day. I want to let you know also that I'm a little more relaxed than the last time that I did this, knowing that my time is short, but I am so excited for the future of this association. The next leader of this association will take our association to a new level. He'll be dependent on the great staff that's here at the Alabama High School Athletic Association, joining in with him to lead our 156,000 athletes, our 15,000 administrators, and 8,000 officials into the next generation. So before we introduce our next executive director, I want to introduce the president of the Central Board of Control, Van Phillips, principal, Centerpoint High School.
Thank you, Mr. Savarese. I'm very excited to be standing here today to announce the next executive director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. First, I want to thank Mr. Savarese for his outstanding service, first as a coach and administrator at Alabama High School Athletic Association member schools for more than 3 decades. And I thank him even more for his 15 years of outstanding leadership as executive director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. We will miss you, Mr. Savarese, but we also wish you well in your retirement. I feel your leadership has made the Alabama High School Athletic Association the best high school athletic association in America. I also want to thank the Central Board of Control and the Search Committee for its thorough search for the 5th Executive Director in Alabama High School Athletic Association history. Based on the past success of our Central Board, we know this has been a very difficult task and one that has lasting impact on this great organization. The work this committee has put forth has been outstanding. On behalf of the Central Board, I want to also thank those who applied for this important position. The list of candidates was amazing, and it left our committee with a very difficult decision. We pared the list down to 3 founders. Each one in their own right would have been an excellent choice for us. We thank each of you for your professionalism and candor during this process. However, with that being said, we could only choose one person. I'm proud to say I believe we have selected a person who can meet the challenges that currently face the Alabama High School Athletic Association now and in the coming years, with the same commitment to the Alabama High School Athletic Association mission and the 4 executive directors that came before him. The person we have selected attended high school in the Alabama High School Athletic Association, where he was an outstanding student athlete. He went on to represent his family, his school, and the Alabama High School Athletic Association well at the collegiate and the professional level. After coaching for several years at the collegiate level, he became a high school teacher, coach, and administrator at our member schools, again, representing himself as the ultimate professional. And for the last decade, this man has been of impeccable character and has served on the Alabama High School Athletic Association executive staff, first as director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association Athletic Directors and Coaches Association, and for the last 3 years, he has helped lead the Alabama High School Athletic Association as the Associate Executive Director, standing only next to Mr. Steve Savarese. We have been fortunate to have known him and to have him working hand in hand with Mr. Savarese, the Central Board, and with our member schools and fully understand the mission of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. We all agree he was the most qualified person for this very important job. Now, I am very proud and pleased to introduce Mr. Alvin Briggs, the Alabama High School Athletic Association next Executive Director. Congratulations, Mr. Briggs.
Wow. Thank you. I want to thank you for those kind words. As I look across and look out in this room, I see a lot of familiar faces. Some from my childhood hometown to some hometowns that I've grown to call my hometown. I want to thank the Central Board Search Committee, along with the Central Board, and Van Phillips, the board president, Mr. Steve Savarese, executive director, for having the confidence in me that I will be the leader of this great organization for years to come. There's no doubt I have big shoes to fill. The previous executive directors, Cliff Hopper, Bubba Scott, Dan Washman, and of course, Mr. Savarese, have set a legacy of great leadership across this nation for this organization. And I prayerfully will do the same thing with my leadership. As I look to my left, this gentleman, from day one when he introduced me as his son. He's been more than a mentor. He has been that father for me. You know, I kind of wrote a little speech here, but I'm a differ for that a little bit because I said he's a father figure. You know, I grew up in a home with loving parents. I grew up in a home with parents that supported me. But I don't mind saying this. My father was an alcoholic. He wasn't always there, but it didn't mean he didn't love me. But when I got to know this gentleman right here to my left, and I've had other men in my life that I would say were father figures, but this gentleman has been more than a father figure. He has been a dad. So it's never been an embarrassment when other men would say, "There's your daddy. I see you standing beside your daddy." I took it as a great honor because that's what he's been, a father and a great mentor. And my prayer is I can lead this organization to new heights as he's done. More importantly, I don't want any of us to forget the mission of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. This association is here to serve our member schools through sportsmanship, competition, and enhanced student learning. With integrity as its foundation, the association consistently governs the rules created by our member schools. We're here to serve our member schools, and we will continue to serve our member schools. I promise you that. All our member schools. They're all important. All 413 of them. As Van mentioned, I grew up in this organization. I have a letter on my office wall now from being selected in the All-Star game from Mr. Bubba Scott. The first time I met Mr. Scott, he was talking to us about being well-groomed and the fact that we was going to church in the next 20 minutes. So you got 5 minutes to get downstairs. I will continue to strive to lead this association to be the best in the nation. And I will be able to do that with the great staff that's assembled here at the Alabama High School Athletic Association. There's no doubt we have the best in the nation. Lastly, to each of the executive directors before me and to Mr. Savarese, my goal and my plan and my prayer is to leave this association better than it was handed to me. That will be a daunting task, but I look forward to the challenge. Thank you.
See you gonna come. Any questions from the media?
I've got one from Mr. Briggs.
Mr. Briggs?
Well, congratulations. Obviously, it's been one tough year for you guys in general with COVID. Going into this next transition, obviously you guys, I was talking to Ron about this, very impressive how Ron told me everything kind of went as planned, even though it was a pandemic. What's your plans moving forward? And it's definitely not going to be an easy task, but to keep, is that kind of the momentum you're going to keep it going? Like, can you give these kids kind of a sense of normalcy going into next year?
Well, we went back to a sense of normalcy this spring when the governor opened everything up back for us, and that's what we'll continue to do, is to give our students and athletes a chance to compete at the highest level. So none of that will change.
Other questions? Okay, stand up, if you will, stand up so we can
Yeah,
get.
it's for Ms. Savarese. You and obviously.
I thought I was off the hook. Why didn't you go to the microphone?
Yeah, I didn't think you could back around.
I was just about to ask Mr. Briggs if I could leave early for lunch.
Go ahead.
You heard what we said about him calling you a father figure. You've known him for a long time. What about Alvin Briggs makes him the perfect man to succeed you in this role?
Will you repeat the last part of the
What
question?
about him makes him the right candidate to succeed you in this role moving forward?
When he started talking about me as a father figure, I started to cry again. So I don't want to cry again, and I seem to do that a little more as I get older. But I was honored to travel around this state with Mr. Briggs and to attend so many of our athletic contests, and to have someone to call you like a father. And I noticed so many times he treated me like a father as I traveled around, and I was honored and privileged because he is such a good man. Alvin will be just like I was when I started this job. We'll be a sponge. And when I came into this job, I had to replace Dan Washburn, which was a daunting task. I had all these grandiose ideas. And as I faced those challenges, I learned how much I didn't know. And you rely on the staff of your association. And that's what Alvin's going to do. Alvin has a leadership ability to work with this staff, and he'll rely on this staff to help them go into the 2021-22 school year and move this forward. But I am confident under his leadership, along with this entire staff, they will do an outstanding job. You know, you asked me one of the reasons why he would be successful. Alvin loves people. He loves being around our folks at schools. So as long as you care, and he definitely cares about our student athletes, as long as you care and love them, you'll always have an opportunity to be successful.
Other questions? Congratulations, Al. Any other questions from the media? That's why we're here. If you got some questions, please address them now.
Director Briggs. So, congratulations. When you heard that Director Savarese was retiring, obviously after dealing with that, when did you kind of realize, okay, I don't want to step up into this new role, I don't want to accept this new challenge?
Ask him what he said when I interviewed him.
10 years ago, when I interviewed for the director of the Coach Association, he asked me where I wanted to be 10 years, and I pointed, I said, in your seat. It's always been a dream to be the next executive director here at the Alabama High School Athletic Association. So it was bittersweet. You didn't want to see him leave. You know that time was coming. I guess with us traveling so much, he had talked about it some years earlier. Probably about 3 or 4 years ago, he had started talking about it, and we had numerous conversations about it. So, but it's just one of my dreams was to be an executive director here at the Alabama High School Athletic Association.
Mr. Briggs, if you will, you grew up in this organization. Just talk a little bit, if you will, how important is continuity in this process for you as you go forward?
It's very important. All the staff here Mr. Savarese has done a great job of giving us the ability to organize through our sports committee, our sports. And so the continuity of having this staff continue to be here and continue to do the things we do for our member schools. There's no way one person can serve 150,000 student athletes, 413 high schools, 278 middle schools by himself. He has to have a staff with continuity who's been doing this task every day. And this is not a seasonal task. We work on these tasks every day. Going into the season, we're already setting up debriefs for the spring sports we just finished. So it's important that we keep the continuity going forward.
Talk a little bit, if you will. Mr. Savarese talked about when he came in, he had some grandiose ideas. What's the first thing on your bucket list that you want to try and get accomplished?
I gotta try to place that thing.
What other bucket list would you need? There are a lot of things that we want to do, but I want to do that with the staff. We got to talk to the staff and see where they're at, and I want to help them get into the things they need to be successful. That's our first priority.
Mr. Briggs, going into this year, a lot of changes for positive, like moving the softball facility out to Oxford. You guys are added with Tuscaloosa and with Auburn for the football state championship. Now you're adding Birmingham. Is those kind of things that you want to build off of and continue to grow with their facilities?
We want to continue to give our student athletes and our member schools the best facility to compete at the highest level. And that's the most important thing. None of that's going to change. We will continue to look at those. We will continue to look at every possibility for every one of our sports and making sure they're at the highest level. So it's an event that they will never forget.
Any other questions for Alvin or for Mr. Phillips, the Central Board President? Any other questions? If not, Alvin, you might want to introduce the special guest in the very back.
I'm grateful that my family's here. They were here to help me celebrate this most important day. I'm sorry. I have my son who's hiding back here, Champ Fair. I have my wife, Roxy, back there, my daughter, Candace, my other son, who I've adopted, Will, Miss Nikki, and Will's son. I also have my mayor from Greenville back here.
Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, then we appreciate you coming, and we thank y'all.
All right, so there you go. You hear from new executive director of the AHSAA, Mr. Alvin Briggs, who will be taking Coach Steve Savarese's spot. And what an honor for him. We have gotten to know Mr. Briggs very, very well here at WOTM, as well as with the AHSAA radio network throughout the last few years. And I'm so appreciative of what Coach Savarese has done. And the way that he's kind of been at the forefront of a lot of things during his tenure as the executive director. There you see Mr. Alvin Briggs. He's had a lot of time to learn under Coach Steve Savarese, and we really look forward to seeing what Alvin is able to do as the executive director of the AHSAA, and are very excited to have him as our leader here with the AHSAA now. As they talked about, a great staff down there with the AHSAA. You saw Ron Ingram, director of media, getting everything done down there. We talked to Brandon Dean, the director of baseball, this week. Denise Ainsworth does such a great job down there. David Holtzford with social media, and there's so many other people, and he's got such a great staff, and I know that he's excited to get to work with all of them and to now be that guy. As he talked about, he dreamed of being in that seat. He told Coach Savarese, I want to be in your seat one day. I want to have your job, and now getting to live out that dream. So you heard it. Alvin Briggs, our next executive director of the AHSAA, and that will wrap things up here on WOTM with today's special Monday press conference live at the AHSAA office.